You're listening to Weight Loss for Life Coaches, episode 13. There's something special about today's episode because this marks the first episode of the series presented by now Master Certified Life and Weight Loss Coach, Paige Bowman.
Welcome to Weight Loss for Life Coaches, the weekly podcast for coaches who are growing their coaching business and on their weight loss journey. Each week, we'll be tackling why weight loss feels hard and how to make hitting your weight loss goal the simplest thing you do all day. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. We're going to talk all things your why on your weight loss journey today. Your why and thinking about your why has been around for a while now. I know there are books about it out there, and it's something you hear about when people are talking about being motivated on their goals or on their growth journey. And I know that I've been told to think about and know my why for years now. For me, it started with a Beachbody program that I started over a decade ago. And I remember my Beachbody coach telling me how important it was to know my why and to think about my why so that I stayed committed on the journey, say, going through the exercise program P90X. And when it would get hard, she would tell me, this is why you got to know your why so that you stay committed even when it feels hard or even when you don't feel like it. And so knowing your why has been a big part of my life for a long time now. And I'm sure you've probably heard it as well. Today, I want us to think about it on our weight loss journey because knowing your why is so important when you're asking yourself to change old, habitual, long-running thought patterns, beliefs, habits, ways of doing things. It's so important to know your why when you're asking yourself to do something that some might consider hard or really uncomfortable or difficult. And I love to say weight loss can be done simply. It could be the simplest thing you do all day, and it can be done with ease. But I don't call it easy. Maybe this is another podcast episode. What I say is it can be done with ease. And I think knowing your why is a huge reason weight loss can be simple and can be done with ease. So let's talk about your why and why it's so important to know your why. Take a drink of water every time I say why today. So knowing your why is important because it gives you a strong foundation while you're on this journey. Think about building a house. You want to build it on firm, strong, concrete foundation. I think they use concrete to build houses on. I'm not sure, but let's just say you want to build your house on a strong foundation, and your why, knowing your why, having a why, is your strong foundation. It is that solid, strong, concrete foundation for you to then build your action plan on and your timeline and your mini and short-term goals on. It starts with your why. So first and foremost, it's so important to know your why, to have a why, so that you have a strong foundation to build upon for the rest of your journey. If you don't have your why, and therefore you don't have a strong foundation, and you get started on your journey or building your house on a pile of dirt, it might come tumbling down. You might end up giving up ahead of time, or you might give up after a couple of weeks or a couple of months, because you don't have that strong why, that strong foundation driving you during the hard times, right? Like when it rains, your house might start sinking if it's built on a pile of dirt. You want to feel sheltered from the storm. That's called learning how to manage your emotions, learning how to let food just be fuel. It's already difficult undoing old beliefs about food in your body on its own. Now add to that not having a strong why backing you the entire way. It makes for a much harder journey than it has to be. And similarly, knowing your why is so useful when you come up against obstacles or objections. This is something that I learned about from Originals, a book written by Adam Grant. And he talks about how knowing your why can help you not only when times get tough and you come up against obstacles and objections and things don't happen the way you thought they were going to, or your timeline is different than what you thought it was going to be, but it also helps you in finding those obstacles ahead of time. And I thought this was so good. It's not only good to know your why to protect you from the storm that is life and learning new ways of doing things, but it's also a good way or useful way to go find out what those obstacles may be because you have a strong why holding you up on your journey. You can feel confident in your goal to lose 25 pounds, knowing that the journey isn't going to look the way you think it's going to, and you're going to have to overcome things. And you can go ahead and get started figuring out what the next few obstacles might be when you know that you are going through this journey for a really good reason that you love, that you are covered when the storm comes, and that you are going to be holding yourself up on a strong why, a strong foundation. One of the skills that I help my clients learn and work through on their weight loss journey is evaluating. And I think evaluating is so good. I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast before. It's so good at helping you take a look at what's working on your journey and take a look at what's not working so you can make those changes. And evaluating is a skill and it's something that you can learn to do and get really good at. And it's really easy to do so when you have your back and you know that you're doing this for reasons that you love and you have that strong why underneath you. When you're not sure why you have set the goal to lose 25 pounds and you're feeling iffy about it, and then you go in to do an evaluation where you take a look at what's worked and what hasn't worked, you're going to feel even less strong and even more doubtful taking a look at the things that aren't working because you don't have that strong foundation. You don't have that strong why that will give you the confidence and the certainty to take a look at what's not working and to do something about it. If you've listened to any of the past few episodes, you've probably heard me talk about my goal to eat much healthier this year. And really, it's a part of my longer term goal to just take better care of my body and my brain, to be honest. And so I've been thinking about making longer term goals to take better care of my body and my brain, and then to break those down into shorter term goals. So this year, my goal was to eat more vegetables, to definitely eat healthier, but to eat more vegetables for sure. And so I made that into a more doable goal, which was to eat a salad every day. And let me tell you something, if I didn't have a strong why, if I didn't have my brain health in mind and my body health in mind when it comes to when I turn 40 or 50 or 60 years old, I would be much more likely to give in to the I don't want to right now kinds of obstacles or objections I hear for myself. But it's so easy, especially when I have my why in mind at the top of mind, to remind myself that, no, I'm not doing this for today or for tomorrow. I'm doing this for my brain health and my body health for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And knowing that that's why I'm doing it, to make it easier for my body to function, and knowing my why and why I've set this goal and why I'm going after it and why I'm making a salad today for lunch makes it a lot easier to overcome the little objections. I could coach myself, and I have, on the I don't want to right now objections. I could also just remind myself, we actually do want to. We want to because we know a salad a day adds up. We want to because we like our brain and we like thinking and we like using it. And we want to continue doing the best that we can for our brain and our body so that it's doing the best it can for a long time. Without that strong why, without that strong foundational reason to eat a salad every day, to eat healthier, it would be so easy to succumb to the I don't want to's. And then that would add up. That would easily add up to me going without a salad for weeks on end. And it would be so hard to overcome the I don't want to's because, well, why should I? I don't have a good reason why. I don't want you to underestimate knowing your why or having a strong why, because it makes weight loss and having better health for your future self that much easier. And yes, I'm saying easier because even though it is an uncomfortable, can be hard and difficult at times kind of journey to lose 25, 50, 75, 100 pounds, it becomes easier when you have a strong foundation. All right, we've covered the main reason to have your why and know your why, to have that strong foundation on your weight loss journey, to let it help you overcome obstacles and even go searching for obstacles to go ahead and problem solve for. Now let's talk about some other aspects of your why that you may not have thought about before. So the first one is I want you to know you can change your why as time goes on. It's okay to say, hey, this is my why right now. It's strong. I love it. And maybe I'll come back to it in 6 months and check in. Go ahead and write it down. Put it away if you want to, or keep it top of mind. And then tell yourself, hey, we're going to have a coffee date with ourselves in 6 months. And we're going to check in with our why for going on this weight loss journey, for making these changes in our life. And then we're going to see if we still like our reasons. You can then recommit or evaluate and change your reasons. And of course, you can change the goal as well. There's nothing to fear with taking a look at your why and your journey and your goal. It's such a good relationship with the self-exercise to set your why and also to allow yourself to come back to it and take a look at it again and recommit or change it. So if right now you're losing weight to look better in a bikini in 3 months' time, and you love it and it feels like a strong why, by all means. And then in 3 months, you have a chat with yourself and you say, do I still like this why or do I want to change it? And then you either recommit or you change and commit to that new why. But either way, just be sure to go on this journey with your strong why and that strong foundation. If you haven't drank a full bottle or glass of water yet, you haven't been playing the game. Drink water every time you hear me say why. And we're not even done yet. I want to talk about a few things that I learned from the last chapter in the book Originals by Adam Grant. I just finished a reread, and that last chapter is so good. And he talks about a couple things that have to do with your why, but he doesn't say your why. I just am summing it up, and I think it's very useful, and I think it's right in line with this idea of having a strong motivator, a strong reason to go on your journey, especially one that has you changing the way you show up in your life and the way you do things, right? That's what weight loss is we are changing the way we think about food and our body and our thoughts and our emotions. And so one of the things that he talks about in the book, again, it's Originals by Adam Grant, is you can take a look at the status quo right now. So he talks about establishing what the status quo is right now. So the way things are, right? The way that you think about food, your hunger, the way you think about your emotions, the way you think about your body, the kinds of feelings that you feel on a daily basis, or the ones you don't, and your actions, the things you do or don't do. Take a look at what those are right now, and then take a look at what you want or believe could be different. I do this exercise with my clients. I call it a future you exercise, where we take a look at what we think our future selves are like when we've hit our weight loss goal. And we just use the goal as a container, as a way of really setting a marker for seeing what we want to be different and what could be different at that time. And we take a look at what your future self thinks about differently when it comes to her body and her food. What kinds of feelings is she feeling on a daily basis? And what has she gotten used to feeling that right now you're not? What kinds of things does she do or not do on a daily basis? And so setting out to take a look at what you want to be different or what could be different then allows you to see a natural why. It could be as simple as, here's my future self, here's what she's like, and that's my why, because I want to become this version of myself. And then you can let that be a guidepost of not only new things to think and feel and believe and do, but even knowing what your future self is in and of itself is really awesome and something to keep coming back to, just like your strong why. My why is becoming someone who feels her emotions and doesn't hide from them anymore. My why is becoming someone who believes that she is worthy and lovable the way she is right now without changing anything. That's something that my future self believes. And now I want it. I realize it's possible. I realize that that's something that is even available to me, especially if you come up with it in a future you exercise. And then you can let that be your why and your guidepost. When Adam Grant talks about this in his book, he talks about how knowing what the status quo is right now, so the way things are right now with you, your relationship to yourself and food, and then knowing what you want to be different is a huge motivator to get in action. And I want to be clear here. It's not that we're comparing and despairing with ourselves, right? Our present self and our future self, but we're driving ourselves out of our comfort zone purposefully by being clear about what it is we want, where we are now, and what's totally possible for the future. Letting that be your why and be something that gets you out of your comfort zone. So our why is important to know to have a strong foundation on this weight loss journey. And it's a driver to get us out of our comfort zone, out of the status quo, and into the future that we want to create. Another example that Adam Grant gives in his book Originals is you can use your powerful why to motivate you during times of doubt when you aren't entirely sure of the course moving forward. I thought this was really interesting because you may have a goal to lose 25 or 50 pounds, maybe 100 pounds. You may have that as a goal, but you're not quite sure how to get there. You're not quite sure what method you want to use or who you want to work with, or if you want help or to do it on your own. When times start to get uneasy, especially when you're not committed to a plan of action, he says, hey, use your why to motivate you to keep going, to go figure out the way you want to go do things, to stay committed even if you don't know the way yet. I thought that was really cool because it's not a problem to not know your plan of action yet, to not know the how, to give it some time to check out programs that you might want to use, or to check out coaches, or to try it out on your own. And knowing that you have that strong foundation means that you can still motivate yourself to keep going, even if you're not sure on the way you're going to get there. And then he talks about, and I've already talked about it a little bit on this episode, when you do have your course of action, when you know the plan, when you know the way, and you start to be afraid or feel anxious or feel doubtful, you can use your why to go find the things that are making you feel that fear or anxiety or doubt and go solve for them. And I talked about that a little bit earlier, where when you feel confident because you have your strong foundation, you can go figure out what the obstacles are now and go ahead and problem solve for them. And he talks about this in the book, where if you are committed to this plan of action, say you're going to use the 3 steps I talk about in episode 5, plan your food ahead of time, write it down, and honor your plan. And that's what you want to use to lose the next 10 pounds, to lose 25 pounds. And you have this plan of action you're committed to, and you start to feel the fear, the doubt, and the anxiety. You can come back to that strong foundation, that strong why you're going on this journey, and then deep dive into where that fear is coming from, where the doubts are coming from, and then go problem solve for those, because you know that your reason for going on this kind of journey, this uncomfortable, difficult journey, is worth it. When I set out to lose 25 pounds in 2019, I remember thinking, I have the strongest why I've ever had on a journey. And I'm going to talk about my story in a future episode. But I remember thinking, now that I know the bottom line reason I eat to cover up my emotions or to make myself feel better, I know I'm all in on learning how to manage my emotions and feel my emotions without needing food. And I remember thinking, this is the strongest, most motivating why I've ever had. And I knew how powerful it was to go into the journey with that strong of a why, because I knew that even if I felt doubt on the path I had chosen, and even though I would feel like giving up on the path and on the journey, I knew I would come back to that. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I knew it was such a strong why. And then I felt doubt. And then I was like, well, remember, Paige, you said you could just come back to your why. So I did. And then I kept going. I figured out what those obstacles were that had me feeling doubt, and then I overcame them. And I did that throughout my entire journey. And so when I say that knowing your why, the most important reason is because it gives you a strong foundation. I mean it. And when I say to keep coming back to it and let it be the thing that makes you feel certain on this journey, I mean it. And when I say to come back and recommit to it and keep it top of mind, because even the littlest obstacles will try to throw you off track, I mean it. Now let's talk about creating your why. I already talked about a possible way of doing this, which is thinking about your future self and what she's like and letting that be your motivator, your guidepost, and your why. But you could also ask yourself what you would want to be different. Not just, I want to lose 25 pounds, but what you would want to be different in your life, and write it out. Here's what I want to be different. And then you can ask yourself the obvious question: why do I want this to be different? You can think about the short term and you can think about the long term, especially because you know you're going to give yourself the chance to come back to this why in a couple of months. You can let your why or your reasoning involve people in your family or your friends. You can let your why involve your community and the world if you like. One thing that I think about when I think about my why is my friends and my family. I want a strong body and a strong brain for as long as I can so that I can keep being that best friend, that really fun and loving family member to my people for as long as I can. I want to be an example to people that they can lose weight the simple way and they can be healthier without judging themselves or hating themselves, and that they can feel love on the journey for as long as I'm able. And so a motivator for me is my people. And I love the idea of disrupting diet mentality, even considering that I could be a part of the movement that goes away from dieting and restricting our food and depriving ourselves. That's such a big motivator for me to figure out how to lose weight and maintain it in a way that's so doable and maintainable that it drives me. And so when you think about your why, you can let it involve your people and your community and the world. No one is going to be reading your why. You don't have to tell anyone. So when you write it out, be as big and audacious as you'd like, and then go write it down. If even to just come back to and look at a later time when you want to take a look at it again in a couple of months and recommit to it or change it, and keep a part of it a top of mind. Like I said earlier, I like to remind myself that I have a goal to eat way more veggies every single day this year. So maybe I'm not thinking about my bigger why about my body and my brain for years to come, but I know that that's there. And my why of eating more veggies, I know what that's tied to. So it's easier for me to come back to eat your salad today, Paige. If even 5 times this week, have your salad. It's really fulfilling the bigger goal of eating lots of more veggies. And I know that's fulfilling my bigger goal of being healthier. We don't have any powerful questions today, except for what would you want to be different? What do you think will be different when you hit your goal? And then why? Why is that what you want? And really give yourself the time and opportunity to think about your strong why, write it down, and then come back to it in a couple months. Let it drive you, let it motivate you, let it help you with upcoming obstacles or finding them and going ahead and problem solving for them and keeping you committed to your goal of losing weight the simple way. All right, that's it for today's episode. I hope you loved my take on your why I know this may not be a new concept for some, and if it is, I'm so glad I got the opportunity to introduce you to it. But either way, I think that I brought some really interesting things to the table that I want you to come back and listen to this episode again and take with you what serves you and leave the rest behind. And then come back again and update your why, remember how useful it is and why it's so important. And now go take a bathroom break, because if you were drinking a sip of water every time I said why, you surely downed at least 20 ounces of water. So I hope you had fun with that. If you love this episode, leave us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review and tell us what you love. And share this with your fellow life coaches who may know about having a why on their journey, but maybe forgot about it and want to learn about it again or be reintroduced to it and hear some fun new ways to think about it on their weight loss journey. For more on simple weight loss while you're building your business, go to pagewoman.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at lifecoachpageb. See y'all next week.